Welcome to the ISF 2016 NFL Divisional Preview. We're on the NFC right now, Pete. NFC East wide open after a pretty mediocre showing by everybody last year. Who do you like?
Well, I really like the Cowboys. It almost seemed that those last year a losing team was going to take this division, but the Cowboys with a healthy Romo, that's going to be a huge, huge factor. I think along with Romo, Ezekiel Elliott in that running back position is going to be a huge X factor for them, along with Dez Bryant being healthy as well. I think this team has no reason to not be taking this division.
Well, I'll give you one reason, that defense. I'm not sold on that defense. Greg Hardy last year, whatever you think about Greg Hardy, he still was productive for them. They're going to have to find a way to generate a pass rush again this year. And then I really don't like any of the other teams. I don't really like the Eagles. I don't really like the Giants. I think the Cowboys' offense will be good, but I'm going to go with the Redskins. That offense is ready to go. I think Kirk Cousins, Josh Doxson was picked in the first round this year, and you got Deshaun Jackson, among others, that I think lead that team to the division.
Definitely round. Kirk Cousins with this wide array of receivers and Pierre Garçon and Deshaun Jackson. So I think, obviously, they're a front runner as well. I think they just slip right under the Cowboys into that wild card hunt.
I like the opinion. Okay, and then we move to the NFC North. You got the Pack, you got the Vikings in there, you got A-Rod, you got Jordy Nelson. Greg Jennings is gone, unfortunately.
Just retired.
But Jordy Nelson, torn ACL, coming back. That offense should be revamped. And then you got Eddie Lacy trimming down on a diet, hitting the gym. He's going to be a different player this year, in my opinion. And that team, to me, is the team to beat still in that division.
Yeah, a healthy Lacy's definitely a game changer. I think he's definitely laid off the hearty Wisconsin cheese this year, so he'll be back at it for sure. Jordy Nelson obviously coming back is huge. I just think this team has underperformed for the last couple of years when they definitely could have made it to the Super Bowl and have stepped on their own feet. So they've been their biggest enemy. I think they'll kind of clean things up this year. Mike McCarthy's going to have an awesome game plan. Aaron Rodgers is just too talented to not take them to the top this year.
Yeah, one thing, the Vikings defense is very good. Very good defense. I'm not a believer in Teddy Bridgewater, though, so I'm going to stay away from picking them. The Packers are a safe pick.
Hey, if one thing we've seen is that a good defense can take you a long way, especially with above-average QB like Teddy Bridgewater and Adrian Peterson. So I think the Vikings can definitely steal its division. However, Packers take it.
I think the Packers, with that being said, and the Vikings have very good defense, I don't think there's a safer pick in the NFC than the Packers winning the division.
Absolutely.
A lot of the divisions are wide open. Maybe the Panthers. Maybe the Panthers are your safer pick because the Bucks and the Saints and the Falcons are all not good.
Definitely not.
But then we move to that division now, the NFC South, and you got the Panthers coming off a 15-1 regular season and a Super Bowl loss. What do you think is going to happen with them this year?
So I definitely think they're not going to repeat that 15-1 record. That's pretty impressive. However, I do think they'll definitely walk away with this division. Watch out for the Saints, though. They're definitely going to bounce back from that mediocre year. I think the defense is more shored up this year with a couple good draft picks. Drew Brees is going to bounce back, and Sean Payton. I just don't see them repeating such a poor year.
They had a historically bad defense.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a bad defense
Very
last
bad.
year in New Orleans. The Panthers, by default, I think have it shored up. They're a good team, though, and they lose Josh Norman, but the rest of this defense is good. Luke Kuechly, among others.
Not as dire as many people thought. I think he's definitely a huge loss. However, I just think they will bounce back without him.
And so now let's move to the NFC West, Pete. How do you see that playing out?
So I think it was obvious that a Super Bowl hangover for the Seahawks was pretty imminent, and you saw them the first 3 to 5 weeks of the season really struggling, and that gave the Cardinals a head start in terms of rankings, in terms of the record, in order to get that number 1 seed in terms of
also, Cam Chancellor being out was a difference maker for the Seahawks.
Cam Chancellor being out. So I think with a healthy Seahawks and then Thomas Rawls filling in quite nicely another year under his belt, I think that offense is going to take off.
I'm going to go with the Cardinals because I think it's a little bit a better rounded team in general. That passing game is superior to the Seahawks passing game, in my opinion. That defense, that secondary, Tyrann Mathieu, Patrick Peterson, it might be better than that vaunted Seahawks secondary. We'll have to see if they can reestablish that in 2016. I'm going to roll with the Cardinals and then say the Seahawks take the wild card spot. I really would be surprised if one of these two teams doesn't make it in the playoffs via the wild card spot.
I just think Russell Wilson's a gamer. I think he can just mold his play to the situation, and that's very important. We saw last year it had an answer. It had the Seahawks fighting for chances when they probably shouldn't have done so in terms of their ability at the time. We saw also once Carson Palmer reached a really talented defense, he really struggled to get things going. So I think in the thick of things, when push comes to shove, I really like the Seahawks taking the cake.
I just have concerns about the Seahawks really taking it one game at a time and getting it going early in the year. And you know the Cardinals are going to bring it for 16 games with Bruce Arians, at the helm there. The Seahawks need to start earlier, and they need to do a better job early on in the season so they don't dig themselves in a hole. We've seen this as kind of a theme for them, even in the playoffs, even in this, they start off really badly in these games and against the Panthers.
Specifically last year when they had a lot of kind of turmoil. Marshawn Lynch was injured and Thomas Rawls, a rookie running back, had to kind of take over the reins there. And then it's just they bought Jimmy Graham in the offseason and they really didn't know how to use him correctly. I think just this year they're going to work out the kinks with Jimmy Graham, who's just too talented to not be utilized. And then I just Russell Wilson is the game changer in this one.
Also, don't forget that Packers loss. That the Packers should have been in the Super Bowl against the Patriots
but
that year.
That's the Russell Wilson magic, though. He's a gamer. He can win you games.
Yeah, also some luck involved there, too. But that's my concern with the slow start from the Seahawks. And I think that they can easily clean that up. They can easily clean that up. It's just I like the Cardinals with their consistency over 16 games winning it. I see the Seahawks still sliding in the wild card.